Hello, good morning. Today, let's start to learn how does the king move. Now, this is the king, and the original position of the king is on the e square. Okay. Now, let's see how the king moves. Suppose we place the king on e5. Now, where can the king move? So, firstly, the king can move on the highlighted squares, which I am highlighting. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. These are the 8 squares where the king can move. That is, the king can move one square adjacent to his position. Now, suppose let's move the king over here. Now, where all it can move? So again, it can move to the highlighted squares. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Over here, these are the 8 squares where the king can move. That is over here. Now, suppose let's have another situation. That is, now let's say our king, let's set up the position firstly. Now, suppose it's white to move, and suppose the white places the queen over here. Now, where all the king can move? The king can move over one square adjacent to his position. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, here these are the 8 squares where the king can move, but the queen has captured these squares. Just a second. The queen has captured these all squares. The queen has captured these whole lot of squares. Additionally, these are also the squares which the queen has captured. Okay, now the king has only these squares to move. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the king, suppose now let's say the king moves over here. And white tries to move his queen over here. Now, what are squares the king can move? So let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. But the queen is capturing which squares? This line, this line, this line, this line, and here, here, and these are the all the squares where the queen has the row. Now the king can move over here. That is, the king can move over here. 1, 2, 3. These are the only three squares where the king can move. Now let's suppose the king has moved over here. Now the white places his queen over here. Now the king has again how many squares? Let's calculate. First, let's calculate where the queen can move. Now the queen can move. Suppose the queen moves over here. Now where the king can move? The queen has captured these squares, these squares, these set of squares. Now the king has only two legal moves. That is over here and here. So suppose now the king moves over here. We move our queen over here. Okay. So now the king has only this legal square. Now when if we march our king over towards the king, Now let's suppose, just a second. Let's move over it. Now, suppose the white king moves over here and he has this only the legal square. The queen can come over here. Now the king has no legal square. So this is termed as checkmate. As in the queen captures this, and this square and attacking the king. The king has no legal square. That is, the king cannot move in this square, this square, this square, this square, or this square. And neither he can capture the queen because it is supported by the king. So the black king is checkmated by the white. Now there is a special move in chess which is called as castling. Let's study it. Suppose this is the position. Now in this position there is white to move. So white's king has not moved any square. Now the white king can move the piece to two squares from this position, and the rook moves over here. This is termed as castling, as in the king moves over here and the rook moves over here. This is termed as king side castling. But the rules apply, as in the king should not have been moved any position, nor the king should be in check. That is, if suppose the position is if suppose the position is somewhat like this, the bishop is over here. Now the king cannot do castling. This is now the illegal move. Now in this position, first the king has to block the check. Now suppose black moves over here, and then the king can perform castling. Rule number one states that the king cannot move in check, or the king cannot do castling in check. And second, the king should have not moved any square from its original position. Now suppose black moves the king over here, we move over here, and now again black moves on the same position. And now we move, suppose over here. Now the black king tries to castle, but he cannot castle, as in he cannot move his king over here and the rook over here. That that is termed as castling. So the king cannot move like this. Now there is another, that is queen side castling. Now let's have a position for the queen side castling. Just a second, give me a second. Now in the queen side castling, now the king has to move over here. The king has to move on c1 and the rook has to move on d1. Now let's try. Now, this is the queen side castling. As in the king has moved over the queen, so it's termed as queen side castling, and this is for the safety of the king. As in the king is protected by these three pawns. Now let's check for the black one. Just a second. So now the king has moved over here. So the king has been protected by these pawns. So this is the king side castling, and this is termed as the queen side castling. These are some rules of chess which the king should follow. There is another position, as in suppose these are the two basic positions which the person should know, or a chess player should know. Now moving on to another funny position, as in, just a second. Okay, and it's white to move. Okay, position setup. Now suppose the white queen moves over here and the king moves over here, and suppose by mistakenly the person moves the queen over here. Later black king moves over here and the queen, white places the queen on c7, that is over here. Now in this position it's black to move, but black king doesn't have any square, as in These are the squares which the black king should have moved, but queen controls these all squares. So the black king cannot move. So this position is termed as stalemate. That is draw. So thank you. These were some funny positions and some positions where the king can move. So let's meet in the next video.